और आजकल अगर आप देखें अपने शहरों में और चारों तरफ, तो आपको दिखेगा कि साइकिलिंग इज़ अगेन बिकमिंग अ वेरी पॉपुलर sport, and large groups of people are doing cycling in at least in urban towns. So cycling is many types. There are competitive cyclists, recreation cyclists. बहुत सारे साइकिलिस्ट ऐसे होते हैं जो अपना रोजमर्रा का काम करने के लिए, अपने दफ्तर जाने के लिए और अपने काम पे जाने के लिए साइकिलिंग करते हैं। और साइकिल रिक्शा भी चलाते हैं बहुत सारे लोग। लेकिन आप में से बहुत कम लोगों को पता होगा कि देयर इज़ अ बाइक फिटिंग। एक बाइक फिटिंग है जो कि साइकिलिंग को और साइक्लिस्ट को ये इनेबल कर सकती है कि आपका परफॉर्मेंस अच्छा हो और आपकी जो मूवमेंट है उसमें वो इकोनॉमिकल हो और इंजरी और पेन बिल्कुल ना हो आपकी साइकिलिंग करने से। तो आज डॉक्टर साजू जोसेफ हमें साइकिलिंग के उस कंसेप्ट के बारे में बताएंगे जो कि इंश्योर करता है कि मैक्सिमम एफिशिएंसी इज देयर एंड देयर इज इंजरी फ्री, एंड आल्सो ही विल कवर knee pain and how cycling, this bike fitting can help in avoiding this knee pain. So I'll hand you over to Dr. Saju Joseph now.
Thank you, Commodore. Good evening to everyone. Once again, welcome you all to this session. I hope yesterday you had an idea about running, and why I took the topic mechanics of running was that everybody does running, everyone does jogging in the training program. So that's one of the reasons that I took on running. And in biomechanics, it's really difficult on to so many coaches are there, so many sports are there. Difficult to explain on every sport in 1 hour session. So that's why I have selected the topics which could help you to understand things in one aspect, which you are quite familiar. But if you want like individual sessions on sports science, each sport, in fact, yeah, we could have some discussions separately for the group whenever any individual sports sessions are there. So in today's session, I am just focusing on bike fitting and injury. Can you see my slide? Okay. So initially, I will start with some introduction on Olympics, previous Olympics, and then give you some importance of bike fitting. And the last part, I will discuss something on injuries, bike cycling injuries. So, okay. So if you look into sports science and medicine at the Olympics, that is especially I'm talking about London Olympics. Okay. At London Olympics 2012, 66 Olympic records were broken, 30 world records, Paralympic 144 world records, and 230 Olympic records were broken. Now, athlete ability and good coaching are actually paramount, and the importance of sports science and medicine have been given very much importance. And all over the world, the influence of this sports science has enabled the athlete to achieve much better than before. So sports science and medicine is about finding small advantages. I'm stressing here, small advantages. That means marginal gains. Any slight improvement, that is an advantage for the athlete, means, okay, that marginal gain, which helps you to improve your overall performance. So if you look into the team Great Britain, they had Dave Brailsford as the performance director, and he looked upon to his cycling teams small advantages, that is marginal gains. So if you look into 2012 Olympics, 7 out of 10 track cycling gold medals went to Great Britain. So the whole principle came from that idea that you broke down everything you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improved it by 1%, you will get a significant increase when you add all the summation of all that 1% from different angles. Now, for example, okay, 1% from biomechanics, 1% improvement from strength and conditioning, 1% improvement from physiological aspects, 1% improvement from nutritional aspect, and 1% improvement from technical efficiency. So if you add all those things, okay, automatically it will sum up to a great amount. So in his club, that is in his team, there were 15 sports scientists, and the team was called as the Secret Squirrel Club. Now this team trained 8 hours a day by paying around 3,000 pounds per day in the McLaren wind tunnel, improving the aerodynamics of the cyclists. So if you have seen the McLaren wind tunnel in UK, we train there. So actually there's a wind.
Can I just, after you explain this, I can explain little bit in Hindi so that people can, get what you are saying. That will really help.
So this wind tunnel, actually, they were trying to improve the aerodynamics. So here the body position dictating the bike design, what should be the design of the bike, and also it is individualized from cranks, forks to even hand molding. That is basically the handles, how depending upon the length of your fingers, the hands were molded so that they have perfect grip. They don't have any gap in between which has any kind of drag effect and so on. Yes, Commander.
या जो अभी तक डॉक्टर साजू ने बताया कि ओलंपिक्स में कितने रिकॉर्ड 2012 के लंदन ओलंपिक्स में कितने रिकॉर्ड टूटे, कितने नए वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड बने और कितने ओलंपिक रिकॉर्ड बने, उनकी मात्रा काफ़ी अधिक है। उसके बाद वो गए कि जो इंग्लैंड की साइकिलिंग टीम थी उसके बारे में बताया कि उन्होंने 7 में से 10 मेडल जीते, जो कि एक बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि थी, और वो कैसे किया? वो ऐसे किया कि उनकी जो स्पोर्ट्स साइंस की टीम थी, वो उनकी 15 लोगों की, 15 मेंबर्स की उनकी स्पोर्ट्स साइंस की टीम थी, जिन्होंने पूरा के पूरे टाइम जो है उनकी टीम के साथ काम किया और छोटे की स्ट्रेंथ एंड कंडीशनिंग है, बायोमैकेनिक्स है, किनेसियोलॉजी है, न्यूट्रिशन सुधार आएगा। उसके बाद उन्होंने 8 घंटे रोज जो है मैक्लारेन एक फार्मूला 1 रेसिंग होती है, फार्मूला 1 कार्स की जो रेसिंग होती है, जो इंडिया में भी गौतम बुद्ध नगर में जो F1 ट्रैक है उसके ऊपर 3 बार इंडिया में भी हो चुकी है। तो उसमें जो विंड टनल होती है उसके अंदर जाकर के ये प्रैक्टिस किया और ये जाना कि किस तरह से हम बाइक की डिज़ाइन करें और किस तरह से हम उसके हैंडल्स की डिज़ाइन करें और उसके हमारे हाथों की जो पोजीशन है उन सब की डिज़ाइनिंग करें, जिससे कि जो हवा का इफेक्ट है साइकिलिंग के ऊपर वो कम से कम हो, ड्रैग जो है कम से कम हो। थैंक यू।
So now based on that, if you look into Malaysian team, so this photograph is of Azizul Asni, who was the world champion in 2018, I think 2018 or 2019 world championship. He was the world champion in Kirin event. So if you look at his bike, the weight of the bike was 6.8 kg. And if you see the frame only weighed around 1.4 kg, that is the carbon frame. And compared to other cyclists, the weight of the bike was 1 kg less. So it helps you in reducing the drag effect of the bike. The sports scientists also what they did was that they joined with the British aerospace engineering department, and they developed stop watches, that is laser precision watches, which was used for military purpose or this bombing and so on. So precision factor. So they used that, and they developed a watch which was 1/1000 seconds of time could be you can record. So this is why, because now, for example, I'm just giving you in 1984 Los Angeles Olympic Games, PT Usha lost bronze medal by 0.01 second. So if you look into her, that medal loss is actually a big loss. Had Coach Owen Nambiar would have taken a lot of interest in availing the sports science facility then, and had he matched all this, tried to improve upon various performance factors by 1%, I'm sure that she would have surely won the gold there. Then if you look into the clothing, the cyclist clothing, so here you can see down below, metal seamed suits. That means the end of the suit, there is actually a metal seam. Now this is to split the air and improve the aerodynamics. So they designed their dress according to that. And on the right side, you can see normally the warm-up in cycling is before the event starts, and after that probably the first competitor, second competitors, or your chance of coming into the competition, your trials may be from 15 minutes to, it may even last up to 40 minutes. So during that time, what you are warmed up, you are actually cooled down. And there has been studies also, those who have participated in the competition, the earlier part, and comparing to the later, there is relatively around 0.2% to 0.3% performance loss. So in order to keep the body under warm conditions, what they designed was that they designed some pants which can keep the body under warm conditions, so that there won't be any cooling down in the body. Even if that opportunity to participate in the race is at a later stage, still they are in a position to continue the activity. Now, this is Chris Hoy, who was one of the Olympic gold medalists in cycling training. So his leg press station, see, there is no more space for adding weight. So he is using extra weight of his coach to add up the weight and do the exercise. His, if you look at his structure, he has a very well designed body, the muscular figure well balanced, and from the proportion from upper body to lower body is well balanced. In the lab conditions, when he's doing the training, that's when he's doing the training, immediately after the exhaustive workout, he doesn't have to go 10 to 15 meters to go and sit down in a chair and recover. What they did was they put a mat on the next to the bike, so that as soon as he finishes bout of cycling, he just dives onto the mat and lies down. The nutritionists come with drinks, the masseurs come with ice massage and so on. And if the medical team or the physiologists, if they have to monitor, they do come there and start monitoring on the bed itself. Now, if you look into his body posture, his hands is over the head. Most of us, after an endurance workout, they go and lie down, or they sit with hands on head like this. So basically what they're doing is that they're making the thoracic cavity to be smaller. Now in this position, what happens is the thoracic cavity is enlarged, So the lungs are open and more amount of oxygen can be inhaled. See, even in lying condition, they have found out this and they are in a position to employ that to the in the training and recovery part. Now, in terms of hygiene, they were very much worried about the hygiene. They didn't want, okay, after training for 4 years or 5 years, their athletes to get sick before Olympics. They had a bus. So whenever they go for training, they used to go inside in the bus itself. In the bus, there was massage table, nutritional drinks, and even a small kitchen for any nutritional pack, which I mean, snacks to be consumed. For that, they had that. And if they look into the, I mean, if you look into the village where they stayed, they never had any AC rooms or anything like that. They always prefer to not to have any AC rooms and stay in natural environment, so that when they go outside, they still encounter the same conditions. They were asked to carry their own beds and mattresses to the village, so that, when normally what happens is that when we go to a hotel, we can't sleep in the night because the size of the pillow is big, the mattress is little hard or difficult for us to adjust to our body. So time taken for adaptation to those conditions actually is long. So these people have to get adapted immediately. So what they've done is they asked them to carry their mattresses and pillows to the Olympic village. So that's how this team looked into each and every small factors that help in performance enhancement. Now this is Chris Hoy. So you can see that Great Britain won 7 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze, total 9 medals in that Olympics. Now coming to bike fit. What is bike fitting? So bike fitting is a method for determining the position of the athlete on the racing bicycle in reference to physical and limb structure. That means what, depending upon the physical conditions of the athlete and also limb size and other characteristics of the athlete. Now, importance of bike fitting is to get the best aerodynamic effects, reduce drag effects. What is drag? Drag is various conditions that inhibits performance. Now, for example, the wind is creating a drag that restricts your forward movement. So same way, when heavy bikes are used, the friction against the ground, that also increases the drag effect. The frame of the bike, now if you have a, let's say, a handle wide, so this width will increase the drag effect. That means the wind will be, and the air will be encountering over here. So the drag effect will be relatively greater. But if you have it in a slim like this, then the air will be slipping over on top and bottom, and that will facilitate you to slide or your bike to sail smoothly. So improved performance and technique and skill to generate maximum power during the race and training. So these are some of the importance of bike fitting. So it's still continued. So you can also do movement analysis to facilitate comfortable cycling, improve performance. Again, it's repeated technique and skills, and then rehabilitation. Now, another important thing is that to reduce the risk of injury due to high frequency of training. Normally the cyclists train quite high, big volume, and their intensity is also quite high. Of course, this is more towards the specific conditioning period. So during that time, the probability of injury is relatively quite high. Then helps to reduce the level of pain and caused by athlete's injury. So this is actually a photograph of one of the athlete from Malaysia, the same person who actually had that 6.8 kg bike. he had a fall, and the spokes of the bike pierced through his calf muscle, and he was out of the cycling for almost around 8 months. Now, again, bike fitting ensures bicycle fittings according to the rules set by UCI. UCI is International Federation for Cycling. Now, as a sports scientist, what all things can be done for cycling? Now, that's biomechanics support. Okay, so usage of SRM meter, I'll explain that. Bike fitting, then video feedback is one of the most important thing for especially tactical events like Kirin, because a lot of tactics are involved in Kirin event. GPS data, what speed you're moving in the straight and in the curve and in the that is in the higher with higher plane. Then aerodynamic tests can be done and so on. Now this SRM is something like this. Down below you can see the figure. It's called as Schober-Rad maybe technique. So this provides data to coaches about the amount of power generated by athletes during training and racing. This data is obtained by installing the SRM on the bike to be used by athlete during training and competition. So from here you can get information of power, speed, cadence, and if you have a heart rate monitor attached with that, okay, you can also get that. And if you have EMG also, probably you can get EMG information also. Now, to whom this bike fitting, knowledge of bike fitting is important? Of course, most important for a coach, then the athlete himself, because he knows, he is the person who is doing the cycling. He has to know where he's getting pain or where he's feeling weakness, or what is his strength and what is his weakness, where he can generate more force and what is his comfortable position in the bike. All these things he needs to know. The biomechanics, of course, who sets the bikes for the cyclist. Physical trainer, because the physical trainer needs to know, that is the strength and conditioning specialist need to know, okay, in which angle he should go for developing his strength and how it is influencing in his cycling, and where actually power generation is more required and so on. The physiotherapist who is actually involved in all the physiotherapy activities with the athlete also should know what are the areas where the person is working on, and even the masseur, depending upon the angle of exercising, which muscle needs to be massaged and so on. And of course, the physiologist who also does lots of testing of the cyclist. So he also should know about bike fitting. Some of the requirements for bike fitting. What all are the things which you require for bike fitting? You need a laptop with a software, either Silicon Coach, Pro, or Dartfish, Kinovio, or any software which has some tools to draw angles, lines, and so on. And if you have a force platform, is very good, because you can put the bike on the force platform and see the center of gravity of the bike. Now, maybe if a person is heavy, then probably the center of gravity will be more towards the rear part of the bike. If he is light, probably from the middle aspect of the bike, that is from the pedal side, it will be almost in line with that, and so on. Then video camera for filming, measuring tape, reflective markers. Yesterday I had shown some reflective markers. If you don't have reflective markers, you can also use colored tapes. And then of course, bike fitting tools. You need to have spanner and so on. Now this bike fitting, I tell you that it's a hobby, or in fact it's a professional job these days. There are people in Australia and Europe, those who do bike fitting, and they charge heavy. In Bangalore, we have one person who does bike fitting. He charges 6,000 per one session, rupees 6,000. So people who are interested, and if they know a little bit of mechanics and about cycling, probably they'll be in a position to study and then of course understand the mechanics, then it will be easy for them. Now, these are some of the dimensions of the bike which you need to measure. So distance from seat to axle, height of the seat, height of frame, handlebar height, length of frame, length of stem, length of crank, distance from seat to stem. So these measurements are quite important because from time to time, these cyclists may be traveling for competition from one place to the other. So when they fit the bike, you need to know, okay, what was your original fitting. So probably if you have a recording like this of measurements, it will be easy for you to set up the bike very easily at the competition venue, because you don't have to again do a bike fitting to do that. So if already all these measurements are there, you can set it up accordingly. So these are some of the bike fitting sessions. You can see some people are doing it. I have covered the face because these are some of the foreign persons who are doing that. So it should not be an issue for them. That's why I have covered their face. Okay, here there is a video on bike setup. This is by Simon Richardson, a former pro cyclist.
How set up to your body can make the difference between riding in comfort and riding in pain. And for those of us chasing performance, it can be the cornerstone to reaching your full potential. Now, it is a complex topic, more art than science perhaps, but here is our beginner's guide to get you in the ballpark. And the first thing to get set up is your saddle height. Now, with the ball of your foot over the pedal axle and you're pedaling in the 6 o'clock position, there should be a slight bend in your leg. Now, if you get your saddle too high, then it will cause your pelvis to rotate as your foot is stretching, and that will cause lower back pain and saddle discomfort. And if it's too low, then you'll lose power and you'll also get knee pain. To get the best idea of judging your saddle position, it's a good idea to film yourself.
This person has said that, okay, if the bike fitting is not proper, then probability of low back pain and knee pain are quite possible.
Riding on a static trainer like this. Because what it does is it means that you get a better idea of where your natural foot position is. Some people ride with their heel down, some people ride with their toe down, and that difference can subtly alter the angle of your leg. Next, you go for the forward and backward adjustment of your saddle, and this is called the lay back. Now, the age-old technique of telling whether you've got the right amount of lay back is by putting your pedals level when you're sat in the saddle, and you drop a plumb line from the front of your kneecap, and it should drop just in front of it.
So actually, they're seeing the alignment of knee in relation with the pedal. So they have dropped a plumb line with a thread to see whether the knee is in alignment of the pedal or not during the drive phase. Sorry.
This position can be tailored according to whether you use your glutes predominantly or your quads predominantly when you're pedaling. But this is perhaps a bit more of an advanced technique. We'll cover this later. So now we've tackled the seat position, it's time to look at the reach. Now, it's a common misconception that you can adjust the reach to your handlebars from your saddle by adjusting your saddle position forwards and backwards. But as we've just set this up for optimum pedaling efficiency, this needs to be left where it is. So in reality, the way you can adjust the reach is by moving your stem up and down by up to 2 to 4 centimeters, depending on how much.
So people normally what they do is to adjust the reach of the athlete. They try to move the seat predominantly backward or forward rather than adjusting to the cleat.
Steerer space.
That is the stem.
And then unfortunately, by just buying different length stems. So it's a reason why it's a great idea to go to a good bike shop when you're buying your bike in the first place, as it stops you spending money later on to adjust your position. Fundamentally though, a more relaxed rider will have a proportionally shorter reach from the handle.
So normally relaxed cyclists, they have shorter reach and more aggressive. That means speed bike guys will have relatively longer reach in cycling.
Faster stem. And a rider looking for a more aggressive aerodynamic position will have a longer one. However, The limiting factor is in reality flexibility in your glutes and your hamstrings. So no amount of wanting to look aerodynamic is actually going to make it an effective position. As a general guide though, the angle of your back should be about 45.
So as a guideline, the angle of the hip joint should be around 45 degrees, and from the shoulder, it should be something around 90 degrees.
And the angle between your arms and your back should be about 90 degrees. And this gives you the best blend of comfort, aerodynamics, and power. When riding on the tops, you can have an even more relaxed position. So it's good for climbing.
So when you're climbing,
but when you're on the drops,
more relaxed,
bending your arms,
when you're
you
going
your back
downward,
close to horizontal, you can stretch that far.
You need to have more couch.
So to sum up, first of all, you set your saddle height. Then you set the layback. And then finally, leaving that in one place, you adjust the reach of the handlebars.
Okay, so there are nowadays various kind of software which is available for analyzing the techniques. So these kind of softwares track your ankle joint movements, whether it is following both the sides in a synchronized way, or even when the knee is going up and down, okay, for the drive phase to the high knee action, that position, whether it's following the same alignment. You can come to know the right hip joint angle, left hip joint angle, right knee angle, left knee angle, and so on. So each time, each repetitions, it can be captured and it can be kept. And you can, from time to time, you can monitor the performance of the athlete. So this is actually an automated software which is really costly, and it's, of course, Europeans are using this software for monitoring their athletes. Now, something which I just want to say is regarding the pedaling, force applications. Normally in cycling, everything is spoken in terms of a clock. Okay, so a clock represents the pedaling movements. So if you look here, the force application phase starts from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So till here. So this is called as downstroke. That means this green phase is called as downstroke. Then you have the pullback phase from 5 to 7, where actually your hamstrings are making use of this pullback movement. And then you have the lift phase. The lift rise from 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And again, 11 to 1 is the setup for the next action. So here, actually, if you look into, most of us think that, okay, if one person is using one leg, okay, force application from one leg, and once it comes to 6 o'clock, then the next leg starts to apply force. That means the left leg quadriceps and calf muscle start to apply force. But it's not like that. In cycling, in actual cycling, competitive cycling, there is quadriceps is pushing down, and then when it comes to from 6 o'clock backward, that is lift up position, the hamstrings are also generating force in order to assist the left side quadriceps in the pullback. In gym, you find bikes in gym. Normally, every gym has a bike. Most of the people, they just go, if the bike is there and there is no bike setup or anything like that, they just go and sit over the bike and start doing the cycling. Actually, there is a lever to adjust the height of the seat, and also whether the seat should be either forward or backward, so that when you are actually applying the force, it comes exactly, the knee joint comes in line with the plumb line. Why I'm saying you need to adjust that is, sometimes what happens is that in cycling, some athletes will have the femur bone equal to the tibial bone. That means the length of the femur is equal to the length of the tibial. So their adjustment is different. Sometimes the femur bone's length is more than the tibial. Then you need to have little more backward position of the seat. Sometimes the femur length is lesser than the tibial. Then in that case, you need to shift the seat relatively forward. So the adjustments are made according to the length of the limb. Even in physiology testing, also bike setup is very much required. Here you can see Dr. Malay Mandal, who is the physiologist in Sports Authority of India, Bangalore Center, who is doing an anaerobic test for the for the athlete. And this is done on a cycling. So he has done a bike setup for the athlete before he does the anaerobic test. Because if the position of the joints are wrong, then probably it will be really difficult for the cyclist to, athlete to give his best during the anaerobic test. So,
can I just stop you? You can go to the last slide because this is important for all the coaches. This is applicable to the whole spectrum of coaching. Then I can explain in Hindi because a lot of people are asking. इसमें जो आप देख रहे हैं ये एक जिम की बाइक है. आपके एथलीट्स जब ट्रेनिंग करते हैं तो जिम सभी जाते हैं और जिम में जो साइकिल्स होती हैं उनका काफ़ी इस्तेमाल भी करते हैं. तो डॉक्टर साजू ये बता रहे हैं कि जब आपके एथलीट्स नॉर्मल जिम्स में भी जाके साइकिल को यूज़ करते हैं तो उनको अपनी सीट हाइट और अपनी हैंडल बार की जो डिस्टेंस है, सीट का डिस्टेंस है आगे या पीछे, वो एडजस्ट करना चाहिए अपने अनुसार. क्योंकि क्या होता है कि अगर आपके लोअर लिम्ब और अपर लिम्ब की लेंथ जनरली डिफरेंट होती है सबकी, तो उसके अनुसार आपको ये सेटिंग करना चाहिए. अगर आप ये नहीं करेंगे तो कभी आपके एथलीट को इंजरी हो सकती है. वैसे तो वो गया था ट्रेनिंग के लिए, लेकिन गलत तरीके से ट्रेनिंग करने से इंजरी हो सकती है, क्योंकि उस एथलीट को ये पता नहीं है कि ये एडजस्टमेंट भी हमको करना चाहिए या नहीं. तो हर कोच की ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बनती है कि जब उनके बच्चे जिम में जा कर के ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हैं तो साइकिल पे स्पेसिफिकली वो ध्यान दें कि उसकी सीट हाइट ठीक है या उसकी सीट की एडजस्टमेंट ठीक है उसके पैर की लंबाई के हिसाब से. कैन यू गो टू द नेक्स्ट वन प्लीज. यहाँ पर डॉक्टर साजू दिखा रहे हैं कि बहुत सारे जब हमारे टेस्ट परफॉर्मेंस इवैल्यूएशन के टेस्ट होते हैं और BO2 मैक्स के टेस्ट होते हैं, उनमें भी साइकिल के ऊपर बहुत सारे टेस्ट किए जाते हैं. तो उस साइकिल पर भी आपको ये इंश्योर करना चाहिए कि आपका एथलीट एडजस्टेड है, जिससे कि उस एथलीट का मैक्सिमम और सही परफॉर्मेंस कर पाए वो, जिससे कि उसका टेस्ट एकदम ठीक आए. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, now in cities you find free bikes. In 2018 we had in Malaysia Southeast Asian Games. So athletes were given free bikes and also there were free bikes all over the stadia. And if you look into this person who is riding the bike, is bike position, riding position is not proper. It's not, the seat is so low and it is actually difficult for the person. If you see, even the knee goes much ahead of the pedal. So what happened in this during this time, the people who all took the bike freely and was riding, everybody got knee pain. Then what happened was that many people complained about the problem and they reported the matter to this OB company. But bike fitting now what happens is that here the main thing is that in the plantar flexion, if the heel is below the pedal down, the continuous flow of the pedal. So it doesn't pull back. So your speed will be reduced. So for that, while doing bike fitting, we allow a plantar flexion of 10 degrees in line with the pedal. That means the heel has to go a little more higher. So based on that, this height has to be relatively at a higher position. Okay. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay. So the same athlete, yesterday I was talking about posterior pelvic tilt. So this guy actually has a posterior pelvic. See from here, from his buttocks, the pelvis is backward. So actually there is a hump here for him. So this was actually causing a lot of problem for him because his upper body length is being curtailed. That is the angle of the spine is being curtailed by the pelvic posterior positioning. So he was getting a lot of low back pains, and so we had to adjust his bike accordingly to facilitate free flow of movement and less loading onto the bike. So that we have done. So here in this because of this pelvic posterior tilt, so you can see here, this is the right knee and this is the left knee repetitions. So maximum knee extension of left knee was higher than the right knee. And similarly, in terms of plantar flexion, the maximum plantar flexion, always he was having higher plantar flexion for calf muscle of the left side. That is a left leg plantar flexion as compared to the right side. So this again causes a lot of problems for variability in execution. That means he doesn't have a consistency in execution. Both the side there is variability, and because of that, the issues are actually slightly higher. Now, another example, see, most of the parents are very fond of becoming a coach for their children. So here actually there is a case that one guy, one of the parent who was very thorough with the internet bike fitting stages. So he did a bike fitting for his son, and then he comes to us to check whether what bike fitting he has done is correct or not. So initially what we did was that, okay, we tested him and then we put EMG muscle, that is electromyograph. So we put the electrodes on his quadriceps and calf muscle, and we did the test for this. So when we did the test, so you can see the blue. So in the initial test, what before the bike fitting, we found that his left lateral gastrocnemius, that is left calf muscle, left medial calf muscle, right medial calf muscle, right lateral, lateral gastrocnemius, all were activating much more higher than quadriceps, that is rectus femoris and vastus lateralis, both left leg and right leg. So it is, see, the quadriceps muscle is actually contracting less than, activating less than that of the calf muscle. That means mostly the person was using his toe to push the pedal. That means more of plantar flexion. Always he was maintaining a plantar flexion to do the biking rather than making use of the quadriceps muscle. So later on what we did, we changed the position. You can see here, see the gap here is very high. The position of the seat was too high. So actually because of that, the boy was trying to do it with calf muscle than with the quadriceps muscle. So here you can see the gap is relatively less. That means we have set the bike height little more lesser, and we have adjusted something on the handle side and so on. And that has facilitated him. Now the calf muscle, that is in the second test after bike setting, you find the calf muscles are activating less, but the rectus femoris group of muscles are activating more. So sometimes what happens, without much knowledge, when people are trying out some things from the internet, you may end up in failure. Okay, so everything which is there in internet is not evidence based. Probably people must be giving from their experience. So unless you go and really check, then only you will understand the effect of this exercise on various muscles. Now coming to an injury condition, this is anterior knee pain, patellar tendonitis management and modification in a bike fitting for a track cyclist. This is a case study. So basically it was that an athlete was there, elite track cyclist was there, who was actually, he had bought a new bike and he was training in Australia. So this guy, every alternate days he had knee pain. Alternate days means whenever he trains for heavy, then he used to have knee pain on both the legs. Then he takes rest for one day, then again trains next day, again has pain, and next. So he continued for about 6 months. So this was actually after getting a new bike. So after 6 months, he comes to a sports medicine doctor and he diagnoses that, okay, this guy was having patellar tendonitis. Now, for your information, this study, actually, I had presented in International Society of Biomechanics and Sports conference proceeding. This is in 2006 in Austria. You can, those who are interested actually can retrieve from ISBS website this same full article. So the purpose of the study was to identify the biomechanical abnormalities associated with the cyclist and his bike fit, measure the successfulness of the intervention. So the interventions of the bike fit, the objectives were improve performance and mechanics of pedaling, reduce pain of current injury, reduce likelihood of further injury, and bike fit within the UCA rules. So these were the objectives of the study. So the method was like this. Okay, an analysis session was conducted to determine the cause of the anterior knee pain. So here you can see the person, so the doing the cycling. The cyclist was asked to sprint with 80% of intensity on a trainer for a duration of 1 minute. The sprinting motion was recorded with the video camera and analyzed using Silicone Coach Pro. The measurements were made at every 10 seconds of the sprint. Every 10 seconds we looked into the measurements. So from the analysis, the following observation during the stationary cycling position was noted. So this was the normal position before, and this is after the sprinting position and before doing the intervention. Okay, I will explain this. Now, the analysis revealed that the cyclist slips forward 7 centimeters. So if you had noted here, so here the cyclist was sitting at the edge of the seat, but during the cycling, he moves 7 centimeters in front. So when you move your hip when you slip your hip 7 centimeters forward, the knee joint also slips 7 centimeters away from the its original position. Now, at 11 o'clock position, where actually the force application starts. Okay. So in that position, if you look into, the person now is applying force away from the pedal line. So it's almost 7 centimeters away from the pedal line. So this is 7 centimeters shifting, knee joint shifting 7 centimeters, and also the knee joint flexion angle increase as the cyclist slips forward from 82 degrees to 88 degrees. And there's also the plantar flexion increase from 4 degrees to 17 degrees. So the first intervention was, in order to reduce the slipping forward from the seat, we did a simple thing. The handlebar height, okay, was 32 centimeters. Now we increased to 33 centimeters. So handlebar height was increased by 1 centimeter. After the bike was modified to the new setting and when the performance were analyzed, So after the first intervention, this was the position. And when he was asked to do the sprinting again for at 80% intensity, now he started shifting just around 3 centimeters. Okay. So basically, finding after the first intervention was that it was observed that the cyclist slipped only 3 centimeters towards front, thus pushing the knee joint also 3 centimeters beyond the pedal line. So still there is a problem for knee during this situation. That means the force application falls outside the line of pedal. Okay. And so the finding after first intervention. So in the second intervention, to further reduce the slipping forward from the saddle, the subject's old bicycle stem bar, which was 100 millimeter, comparatively shorter than the new length 110, was fixed to the new bike. The old handle too was replaced. So here what actually we did was that, now if you look into, see the new bike handle color is black, and also the stem, this is the stem. So now you can see the old bike handle is steel color, and the stem also was changed. So instead of 110, we got it to 100. Okay. So replacing the longer stem bar with shorter stem bar enabled the subject to lock the elbow and to remain on the saddle. This prevented the subject slipping forward while doing sprints. So the overall outcome is the slipping forward was reduced by increasing the handlebar height, reduces the stem length, replacing the old handlebar to the new bike. And after 3 weeks of familiarization, the cyclist reported that knee pain was considerably reduced and he was in a position to regain his performance. We think that modification enabled the quadriceps muscle to produce force almost in line with the toe and in line with the force application in relation to the pedal at 11 o'clock position. The ankle joint was able to plantar flex to 9 degrees, which increased to 14 degrees while sprinting, thus facilitating the quadriceps muscle to generate force without much high knee action. So the clinical findings are that, see, the slipping forward of 7 centimeters caused the knee joint to be ahead of the force application line. So this is the force application line, but instead of that, the knee joint was in front. So what was happening was that the force application was beyond the toe line alignment. So it's something like someone doing a duck walk. So if you are asked to do a duck walk with knee joint in front, then you feel a lot of strain onto the knee. So repetition of this force application position lead to overuse of the knee joint, leading to anterior knee pain. So basically, after the bike modification, this athlete was in a position to perform better. Now this another athlete who had a back pain. So the low back pain when the athlete undergoes training load from submaximum to maximum. So here again, this paper was published in ISBS conference, and this was in somewhere in 2006. This was in Vienna, and the earlier one was in Australia, and this is in Vienna, Austria. So this also is available in the proceedings of ISBS conference. If those who are interested can go through this. So here in this study, actually, I'm just explaining because the time is short. So I'm just explaining. So whenever the right leg was dropping down, that is during the dry phase, the pelvis was almost straight. But when the left leg was actually dropping down, so you can see the left marker is dropping down, whereas the right marker goes up. So only in the left leg case, it is dropping down, and in the right leg, when it's doing, the pelvic marker is almost parallel. So this we did with 3D motion analysis. So here we could see that the pelvic and had is not balanced with right rotation angle having twice the value of the left. So here you can see the basically more than 50 degrees. Similarly, the knee joint displayed various reading during the drive down. That means there could be a tibial torsion which is taking place on the ankle. Again, that also causes a lot of pain for the lower back because you are applying the force laterally. So a lot of pelvic movement is there, and that causes low back pain. And similarly, if you look into the pronation and supination, the measurement displayed marked pronation on both the ankles. It also revealed that the cyclist had higher plantar flexion angle during right drive and high dorsiflexion during the left leg drive. And people, those who don't have, in fact, 3D software or anything like that, then what we could also look into is, now this also is an athlete actually who had low back pain. You can see during the right drive phase, the right pelvis is dropping a lot. So with markers on various knee joints and ankle joints, and from behind, exactly if you place the camera behind the athlete while doing cycling, you can monitor the performance of the athlete from behind and then see if there is a pelvis drop or not. And based on that, you can do a lot of corrections. You can go for doing a lot of core exercise and help the athlete to improve. Now for bike fitting for para athletes actually is a very big challenge because there is a lot of imbalance in force generation. Knee angle is totally different. Now, for example, in this athlete is actually an athlete who has prosthetics. One limb is prosthetics limb and the other one is original one. So one is in a position to apply greater force because muscles are contracting. The other side, though the quadriceps is contracting, but then it is not being translated from the lower extremity because of the prosthetics. So how to compensate on various part is actually a big task for Paralympic athlete. But however, since they are performing, we can also help them to improve the performance. Another example is of this is actually a single limb athlete. He has only a single limb, only left leg is there, and both the arms are there. And basically, people who do single leg cycling, it's a multitask actually, because you need to control the handle and only one side force application. Every time the handle will go encounter a lot of shuffling movements, which causes eccentric contraction. And most of the people, those who have this kind of issues, they will have upper body pains, that especially rhomboid muscles are likely to pain, or even the shoulder joints are likely to pain because of there is sudden retraction and protraction of the shoulder joints. And of course, tandem bike also is there. There are two people who, that is basically in Paralympics. There are two people who are sitting on the bike and they're doing the cycling. And they do cycling around 100 to 130 kilometers per day. That is their volume of training. And they also, because of imbalance between force applied by the guy who's sitting behind and the guy who's sitting in front, the variation in force application is there, and they also tend to get injured from time to time. So this was a small presentation on bike fitting, and thank you very much for your kind attention and listening. Any questions?
Now, this is a general question from the point of view of various sports. Cycling is used by many athletes for normal, exercising or for normal fitness. A large number of athletes who may not be cyclists per se, but they are in different sports, but they do cycling, say once a week or twice a week. It's a normal thing which they do. So if those people are not doing cycling properly, will they have these, can they develop knee pains and back pains because of their not doing proper cycling and not adjusting the cycle properly for their height and their limb length, and not know that it is because of the cycling that these pains are being caused, and they will attribute them to their sport. Is it possible? Then I will
Yes.
say the whole thing in Hindi also, so that
Okay.
everybody understands this.
There is actually a great possibility. Now, this thing depends upon, see, the pain which is actually caused could be one of improper bike fitting. One is because of that. Second thing is because of the training load. Okay. Training load means, okay, if the cycling is all of a sudden you are starting cycling and the muscles which are actually working is totally a different one. And probably the duration of cycling was a little longer or heavier, with heavier resistance means, okay, then these second issues can be a major one as compared to the bike fittings. So both could play an inter role in creating this pain. So, but in majority cases, those who are athletes who are trained, if the proper proper bike fitting is not there, then probably that leads to more of pains than the normal training pains, because athletes must have undergone heavier training load, so they should be in a position to withstand that kind of training load.
तो मैंने डॉक्टर साजू से ये पूछा कि हमारे एथलीट्स जो हैं, जो डिफरेंट डिफरेंट स्पोर्ट्स के होते हैं, उनमें से बहुत सारे एथलीट्स ऐसे होते हैं जो कि साइकिलिंग को अपना फिटनेस के लिए इस्तेमाल करते हैं, हफ्ते में एक बार, हफ्ते में 2 बार, हो सकता है करते हों। तो अगर वो सही ढंग से अपनी साइकिल की फिटिंग नहीं करेंगे और लंबी साइकिलिंग फिटनेस एक्सरसाइज के लिए जाएंगे, तो क्या उनको नी पेन और बैक पेन हो सकते हैं? तो डॉक्टर साजू ने ये बताया कि ये हो सकता है, लेकिन ये ज़रूरी नहीं है कि वो बैक पेन और नी पेन सिर्फ साइकिलिंग के लोड की वजह से हो रहा हो। हो सकता है वो जो उनका नॉर्मल ट्रेनिंग लोड है, उसकी वजह से भी हो। लेकिन ये एक बहुत ज़रूरी बात है कि जो भी एथलीट साइकिलिंग कर रहे हैं, वो अपने साइकिल को ठीक से अपने लिए फिट कराएं, जिससे कि साइकिलिंग की वजह से उनके नी पेन या बैक पेन नहीं हो। आपने अभी देखा कि किस तरह से एक साइकिलिस्ट जो कि साइकिलिंग करते वक्त अपनी सीट से करीब 7 सेंटीमीटर आगे हो जाता था, उसको नी पेन डेवलप हो गया, और एनालिसिस करने के बाद ये मालूम पड़ा कि वो, क्योंकि वो 7 सेंटीमीटर अपनी सीट से आगे खिसक जाता है, उसकी वजह से उसमें उसके नी पेन हो गया था। तो आपको भी अपने साइकिलिस्ट, अपने जो नॉर्मल एथलीट्स होते हैं, अगर वो साइकिलिंग कर रहे हैं अपने नॉर्मल फिटनेस के लिए, तो इन सब बातों का आपको ध्यान रखने की ज़रूरत है। हमने आज साइकिलिंग को स्पेसिफिकली साइकिलिंग की वजह से इस टॉपिक को नहीं इंक्लूड किया गया था। ये टॉपिक इसलिए भी इंक्लूड किया गया था क्योंकि साइकिलिंग जो है वो एक बहुत ही नॉर्मल फिटनेस के लिए इस्तेमाल करने वाली चीज़ है। बहुत सारे एथलीट्स रनिंग पसंद करते हैं, कभी कभी रनिंग नहीं हो सकती है, और उसको चेंज करने के लिए बहुत सारे एथलीट्स साइकिलिंग का भी इस्तेमाल करते हैं। तो इसलिए ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि आप सही ढंग से और सही माने से साइकिलिंग करें, क्योंकि कोई भी फिटनेस एक्सरसाइज अगर आपका एथलीट करेगा तो वो फुल इंटेंसिटी के साथ करेगा। he will do it with full intensity. He will not do cycling just for recreational purpose. He is doing it, वो अपनी फिटनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए और अच्छा करने के लिए कर रहा है। तो उसके लिए ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि छोटी छोटी चीज़ें भी जो साइकिल में हैं, जो डॉक्टर साजू ने बताई, वो सब ध्यान में देना चाहिए। ज़रूरी नहीं है उसके लिए आपको हज़ारों रुपए खर्च करने की ज़रूरत है। छोटी छोटी चीज़ें हैं, साइकिल हाइट है, साइकिल की आपकी पोजीशन जो आप साइकिल पे बैठ रहे हैं वो पोजीशन है, लेंथ, आपकी बॉडी लेंथ, आपकी लिम्ब लेंथ, इन सब पे डिपेंडेंट होता है। तो कोचेज उस बात का ध्यान दें। ऐसा ना हो कि वो साइकिलिंग की वजह से आपका एथलीट को नी पेन हो रहा है या लोअर बैक पेन हो रहा है और हमको ये पता, हम उसको अपने स्पोर्ट के लिए एट्रीब्यूट करते जाएं। तो इसलिए ये ज़रूरी है कि आप इस बात पे भी ध्यान दें कि साइकिल की पोजीशन क्या है और साइकिल की फिटमेंट क्या है। उसको ज़रूर एक एक्सपर्ट साइकिलिस्ट से करवाएं या अपने जो साइकिल का स्टोर है वहाँ से करवाएं, जहाँ से भी करवाएं, लेकिन उसे अच्छी तरह करवाएं। Thank you. You can take the questions now.
Yeah, there is a question from Subhash Sarkar. How much effective is cycling to rehab from knee injury for an athlete? So yeah, I see that. I mean, see, when you're doing cycling in the initial stages of after surgery or anything like that, probably in the first month to create a kind of mobility, you can do cycling without much of resistance, so that it gives you a mobility in the knee joint. And moreover, beyond that, it is basically to create a kind of aerobic quality also, which that is a kind of aerobic quality which allows you to do the cycling for longer duration. But in terms of strength, unless you increase the resistance in the cycling mode, then only it will help you in forces which are applying downward. But for an injured athlete, when you start applying forces downward, so the knee joint actually encounters heavier impacts because you are applying the force directly down on to the joints. So in that conditions, instead of facilitating that kind of movement, probably if you do something like knee extensions, where the muscles are actually encountering a range of motion at relatively at a higher angle. And most important thing is that people who are who have injured knee, if they are facilitating the muscle to contract and relax, that would in that range with heavier resistance, that will develop the strength also and will assist you in better stability at a later stage. So that is a thing. Then one question from ऑल इवेंट के लिए पोजीशन अलग अलग होना चाहिए और कौन सा डिग्री को पोजीशन में सबसे ज्यादा पावर लगेगा? Yes. I find that okay. I can understand the Hindi question. So for different biking position, I mean different competitions, the bike position is totally different. So the angle also varies accordingly. So if you are doing a Kerin event, it is totally different. Or if we are doing a road cycling, it is totally different. And if you are doing mountain biking, in mountain biking, one of the biggest advantage is that the orientation of the cycle is upward. Okay. So normal cycling, when you do the cycling, so your peak force comes somewhere around between 4 and 5 o'clock. Earlier I told you the 4 and 5 o'clock. That means the peak force which you can generate during the cycling comes around 4 to 5. But in mountain bike, because the orientation is like this, now the 4 to 5 is somewhere around between 2 and 3. That means you are generating the peak force at 2 and 3, and it is being continued up to 4 and 4 o'clock. So that means that elevation angle has facilitated you to have a greater range of motion and start applying force at an early stage. So if you look into competitions, many people who do mountain biking has good potential even in velodromes. So if you look into Australian cyclists, their part of the general training program is mountain biking. And when it comes to specific bike, then they come to velodrome and train. So they are in a position to generate the peak force at an earlier angle, which allows you to apply force for longer duration. That is the advantage of doing different biking and at different degrees where the force application could be done.
There is one question on, do you have a formula for correct seat height?
I gave you an example already. A formula for, there is actually, it all depends upon the length of your leg. Okay. So the height depends upon, suppose if the femur length and tibial length is equal, then the proportion is different. If the femur length is long and the tibial length is short, then you need to reduce the height of the seat. If the tibial length is long and femur length is short, then you have to increase the height of the. So that's where there is everything is based on the length of the individual and also the limb lengths for execution.
No, somebody had told me that if you stand erect and you then your cycle seat should be slightly above where your, from your hip position, or very close to your navel position. Is there any relevance of that?
See, this was actually a general idea those days to have a bike fitting like that. But now it's more based on the angle and force generation capacity of the athlete. So that has to be taken into account rather than looking into this general adjustment from height.
Will change.
Yeah. Someone has asked me a question. So I have signed up for Ironman. Kazakhstan. Please advise me where I can get from abroad. So for the athletes who are 16 to 18 years. So according to the physical structure of the athlete, you buy, I mean, you don't buy a shoe according to a 5-year, I mean, your son's shoe size is 5, but you buy a size of 7 and 12, and I mean 5 years plan for usage. So you don't buy like that. So if you do like that, then probably all wrong mechanics can be learned by the athlete. You can find that many people, many children, they ride a bigger bike and they always swing their body to either side to do the full pedaling. So those are actually wrong mechanics leading to some kind of injury later on. So if wrong things are learned at the initial stages, that will also probably cycling. After swimming, they will do immediate cycling or not? I don't know how much swimming you're, whether you're just 50 meters and then going for training load of swimming and then going for cycling, then you will end up in injuries.
He must be a triathlete. Maybe he's going because in triathlon you have to do swimming first and then cycling and then running.
I stated that okay, then go. Yeah, you can do training for longer. But if your training session for cycling is, let's say, for 2 hours, cycling you do, then going for cycling you will be tired, and then probably that may. I mean, if you're a triathlete, okay, you can do, but then you need to program your training in such a way that the loads are adjusted according to your training intentions. So if that can be done, it will be okay. The normal cycle are totally wrong, very harmful as biomechanics fitting of cycling. Yes, quite true. Yeah, I mean, nobody sells in India a bike with the intention of facilitating, injury-free movement. But it may fit. They're just doing bike. I mean, they're randomly producing cycles based on general population. So it is actually it may be advantage for some, it may be disadvantage for some athletes. Some short or tall athletes, then probably it may be disadvantage for them. But yeah, even those people actually you're buying a normal cycle also, they need to have a bike fitting in order to efficiently apply forces during the pedalings. Okay. So there is a recreational athlete who said, very good topic. It helped us recreational cyclists also. Is cycling useful in knock knee? I don't know if actually if even if you have a knock knee, when actually when you're doing the pedaling, the orientation of the knee joint will be towards medial aspect. But then probably what you need to do is to strengthen the abductors, which can prevent the orientation of inward motion, that is inward position of knee, and preventing a tibial torsion, because if the knee is inward, the tibia will be facing outward towards the pedal. So the force application will be actually diagonal. So unless if it comes straight, okay, then it's okay. But if it's coming diagonal, then probably that will lead to, again, complications.
There is an interesting question here. In my strength training sessions, there are no additional cycling sessions for trainees. Is it important? I think he means that if it is important, should I include it in my gym session for my trainees?
Now, what is the intention of your strength training, whether it is strength endurance or whether it is maximum strength or explosive strength? So if it is maximum strength training, cycling doesn't provide you maximum strength. It's not an exercise for developing maximum strength. So probably if you have something like strength endurance workout, then probably, okay, you can set a output for certain amount time and set a load, and then probably based on that you can set the activity for longer duration. So some kind of strength endurance or aerobic based activity on those lines you can work out for cycling. So cycling is more towards aerobic activities, not more for strength oriented. Kindly tell about to develop endurance in cycling. Yes, endurance in cycling, yes, you need to have a longer duration of cycling. So if you are actually a recreational cyclist, probably you need to have something like 30 to 40 minutes of cycling. And suppose you are a mountaineering oriented, so then probably you have to have some kind of upward trends in cycling that will facilitate your driving force to be little more heavier, In fact, I mean, this is for, I'm not sure for whom it is, whether it is for lower age group or which athlete it is. So I'm not in a position to give a correct answer. So unless you give me details of your athlete, what is the age, what is the training, what is his capacity at present, so that we can give some ideas on what could be the training program and so on based on that. Can middle and long distance runner and walker bicycle? If it can be done, how many times can it be done in a week? And if possible, how many kilometers? This is again depending upon the age. Yeah, I mean, there is no harm in doing cycling for long distance runner and by cyclists. Probably once in a week, if you are doing okay as a kind of regeneration, you can do cycling. But if you want to develop, see, you develop endurance by cycling 100 kilometers, it is not going to translate into running even 20 kilometers or 10 kilometers. The things which are the quality which you are developing through a specific activity, it will be developed through for that particular specific activity only. Now I'm a cyclist who does 100 kilometers. It doesn't mean that I can swim 100 kilometers. I may not be in a position to even swim 1 kilometers. So it's totally different. The quality of aerobic which is developed through a particular activity cannot be translated to other activities. It may help 5 to 10%, but when it comes to specificity, it may not help that much.
We can ask this question to Dr. Kalyan Chaudhary also, because he is also very expert on exercises and strength and training and all that. What is your view on this? Is cycling alternative for endurance, or is it an alternative for why should cycling be used by different sport athletes?
See, cycling is such a type of sports where you can make use of your major muscles like quadriceps, hamstrings, and calf areas muscles. So that it will be very handy tools for the coaches for alternative cross training for make use of the strength. It is one of the major strength training. Even we are doing in the gym. This is because of developing our strength and also for the stamina. When we increase the duration of the cycling more, it will be an effect to the cardiovascular area. So it will be wonderful option for developing your endurance and also certain change you will be there monotonous from the monotonous type of running and everything. Thank you.
So should a coach include cycling as during his training program? Should he include cycling? Will it be better, or should he just do his normal whatever load he is deciding on?
See, the long and middle distance runners normally work out with the pace of running and all. So pace is something very specific to the running of middle and long distance running. Other than that, we have an option for the slow continuous run with a fast continuous run. That can be supplemented with this type of cycling so that we can get some variation and coming out from the monotonousness of running. So it can be an option for that only.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think we have had enough questions and enough this thing. Or you want to take some more?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Saju. Though it was slightly specific to cycling, but in my opinion, cycling is done by a very large cross section of the society, and also a very large cross section of athletes who may be doing different sports, but they do cycling from time to time. As Dr. Kalyan just said कि अपनी जो ट्रेनिंग पैटर्न है उसमें मोनोटोनी को हटाने के लिए और वेरिएशन लाने के लिए हम सब कोचेस जो हैं वो साइकिलिंग का भी इस्तेमाल करते हैं। हो सकता है कि हम साइकिलिंग का इस्तेमाल साइकिल पे ना करें, बट जिम में ज़रूर साइकिल का इस्तेमाल करते हैं समय समय पर। तो इसमें बहुत आज आज हमको ये बात मालूम पड़ी कि साइकिल की सीट और साइकिल का लेंथ, अपना लेग लेंथ, अपना इन सब चीज़ों को बहुत ध्यान में रखना चाहिए। वी शुड कीप दीज थिंग्स इन माइंड सो दैट साइकिलिंग हम अपनी फिटनेस के लिए कर रहे हो या स्ट्रेंथ के लिए कर रहे हो, उससे हमारे को इंजरीज नहीं होनी चाहिए। एंड वी शुड नॉट unnecessarily injure ourselves by following wrong cycling practices. That is the main crux of today's teaching by Dr. Saju Joseph. Am I correct, Saju?
Yes, sir. Very much correct.
So hopefully we have taken this lesson. Dr. Sarla and Dr. Majumdar, you can add something?
Lecture. Very impressive lecture. This program started as an awareness program for the coaches. I think you have given us a wide angle about the development in other countries like Malaysia. So much of development is there. I am feeling bad that we don't have so much of infrastructure and manpower to do it. Such a huge country. And I think when we talk of Olympic medal and Olympic sports, a lot of things, applications of science should go into development of an athlete. I think now it's an eye-opener to both the coaches and the scientists, how sports science is important and how much they can do to develop further. I think all this has brought out in this sessions. It was a good session, but I request Dr. Shaju, if you have a picture of the biomechanics lab of Malaysia, can you post it, show us?
Next class.
Next class.
Dr. Majumdar, last words from you.
Hi, Saju. It's wonderful listening to you. And why the bike is used? Basically, हम लोग क्यों साइकिल का इस्तेमाल ज़्यादा करते हैं? क्योंकि अभी जैसे लॉकडाउन चल रहा है, तो bike is the only way out to, I mean, bike in a sense, the stationary bike. So, I mean, you can improve your or maintain your this thing oxygen base during this lockdown phase. And many of the athletic coach during the transition phase, in particular, they used to have the cycling, so that because it breaks the monotony what Kalyan was indicating for. So, बाकी अच्छा लगा. We are really updating ourselves, and possibly one thing I will tell, that this session could have been very much interesting for the cyclist, and the cycling federation is immensely, I mean, they are doing so well, because our junior level we are the world champion, so we are not doing well, it's not a fact. And both Secretary Cycling Federation and President Cycling Federation, they are so receptive, because I used to see in their this meeting, when I meet them, they are so really they are doing well, and this kind of session would be much more meaningful for the coach who are handling the national team and who are handling the cycling team. Saju, well done, good. Good.
I hope you are taking this for cycling sport also. Are you taking a class there, Saju?
No, I'm there.
Okay, I will ask them to have a special class. Definitely.
Yeah, that would be
that
much
will really help them.
Yeah, really.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. और अब हम we'll meet tomorrow at 5 o'clock again. Thank you very much. Some participants are saying that presentations are not being loaded. I will just have a look, and I will ensure that all the presentations are loaded on the link on the Sports Authority of India website. और हम देखेंगे कि ये जरूर हो, और हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि रिकॉर्डिंग्स भी जल्दी ही सारी जितनी रिकॉर्डिंग्स हैं वो अवेलेबल कराई जाएं आप लोगों को, और उसका लिंक बनाया जाए. वी आर ट्राइंग आवर बेस्ट कि वो जल्दी से मिल जाए. थैंक यू वेरी मच. Thank you. Good evening. Namaskar.
Okay, bye bye.